reduces the space from the required mandatory minimum space of every city sidewalk in Grosse Pointe Farms with storage of shopping carts along McKinley. There are probably 30 shopping carts there. When Mr. Eastside and I were there for our visit, there were numerous planters on the easement belonging to the city and the county with planters and things like that set up. You had thousands of dollars. It looked great, but it was completely contrary to ordinance. County ordinance, city ordinance, it wasn't even close, quite frankly. And even today, cities get sued, believe it or not, people. If our threshold for sidewalks aren't the appropriate percentage, or we're blocking sidewalks, we get sued class action for those types of things. We really do. And there was improper signage there. I got the sense that it was all about us individually and not about the community or not about the city. And that you were thumbing your nose quite, because as a store owner, quite frankly, you can't put things between the curb and the street to sell. You can't put things on the sidewalk to sell. You can't block the sidewalk if somebody needs a wheelchair to go down McKinley Avenue from the alleyway to your store. You can't get through it today. You can't get through it. That's a problem. And I know you have an eye for attention to detail because your store is spotless. You won't allow it. I know you have eyes for attention to detail. But I'll tell you one thing, the city of Grosse Pointe Farms wouldn't allow Rite Aid to store their carts on Kirby. And everyone that comes to us for a variance to have outdoor dining or things of that nature, we expect them to comply. One of the first questions that Lev asks and Neil asks, is it wide enough? Because for disabled people to get through, or a man or woman pushing a stroller down the street, it's a big deal if those things are blocked. And I can't tell you how many class actions I've defended because of that stuff. People are
John,
looking.
can I get to a question, because we only got 25,
Yes.
we only have 25 minutes left, and I want the rest of the council and the public to.
My question is going forward, what can you tell us here tonight that things are gonna change on your end?
Well,
Starting right now.
I can tell you, John, this is the first time in our tenure as owners of Village Market that this has come up.
It's not.
No,
We raised it during our meeting.
Which one?
The one that Mr. Eastside and I had at your store on the second floor about a month ago.
And don't forget, I've been on council for.
There's never been complaints about
We took years ago before you did the renovation, you guys used to put the cinder block stands out there.
Yeah.
And we told you to move those because they were kind of.
We had
So it's
refrigerated
not-
stuff.
This is not the first, so,
Right.
just to answer John's question, when will you
I think-
adjust that?
As I mentioned earlier, I grew up in Grosse Pointe, I went to South, I know the standard, that's it. I was brought into this up. My conversation with, Village Market, it's not a lot like your comments, and I deal with this every day, markets, public establishments, is how do you get a restaurant built, how, just explain to me how this happens, right? And it was somewhat confusing, so I really don't think it was intentional. I think there was some confusion. I read the ordinance, eating establishments permitted by right of this, okay? So read that, I'm not a lawyer, you might think, all right, what's the problem, right? What we can tell you today is that I'm on your team, we're taking this from initial concept phase through the very complicated process that City Attorney laid out. As far as the sidewalks go, I think we can handle that. I mean, that's a couple phone calls and visits and get it right.
Great answer.
And I think the safety issue we have is real. I witnessed it. My mom still lives here. And it needs to happen. And I think the second floor restaurant will be a great amenity to the community once it's approved. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, left or right? Left? My left and your right?
Your other left.
All right, yeah. You're my right. Go ahead.
Can I approach the screen here? Derek, could you please bring that picture up? I have a question, and I think I'm going to direct this actually to Shane, but so that everybody can see my question. If you could please bring that up there. It has to do with safety, but I'm talking about traffic safety. So as I understand the proposal here, there are going to be two curb cuts created, right? Here and here, is that correct? Two new curb cuts? Pardon me?
Sorry. I'm sorry, the one in the parking lot, I think is existing,
This one right here?
right?
With that,
And then the other one is just the street, so that instead of having the old street, so that's not an additional curb cut, that's just the street.
all right, so I didn't know that this one existed. I typically park right along here, but anyways. My question, Shane, would be for our engineers, our traffic engineers, if we could study the effect of adding new curb cuts. That would be in terms of rear end collisions. My concern would be in this particular case, folks from, let's just say, the city coming up Mac and then taking a right-hand turn, then being hit from behind. And I think that happens often when you have a curb cut situation. So whether or not this one exists, I think we're still going to have a new one, plus we're going to have this over here. So my concern would be whether we could have our engineers look at that in terms of safety.
Okay, definitely, we can
Have TIA look
we
at
can
that.
have, yeah, traffic safety.
And then a couple more questions, Billy, if I could.
Yep.
What is?
I'm just trying to give the audience like 10 to 15 minutes, so.
Okay, what is the net parking spot addition, net parking place addition, Mr. Garmo?
Currently in our, where our warehouse parking is on the south, there's currently 26. This will bring it up to 32.
What is the net effect of the construct, you're gonna lose some, you're gonna gain some. What is the net?
Yeah, so I think we did look at, we had George Jerome who actually went out to price the construction project. We had him look at the net effect. It's fairly minimal because you're really, you're gaining the adjacent parking, but you're losing the parking in the existing lot. So as this passes now, it's probably about a half dozen spaces,
Okay,
6 or 7 spaces.
So I would say that we, and also the residents, Mr. Garmo would like to know exactly what is the net impact, what's the gain,
Sure.
right? Okay, so there's gonna be a gain, but it appears to be pretty minimal. In terms of, I'm not gonna go up there again, but just gonna point, the current pass-through on the island it's open right now and it's being proposed here to be closed. How confident are you that you can get Wayne County to do that and then to move that other opening down here directly across from the new construction?
I'm gonna direct that to Shane.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
So initially in the beginning of this process, and now we're going back a few years, these plans were shared with Wayne County. It does have to go through a whole permit process, but they were fairly receptive to realignment of that opening. I think that's something our own public safety department will want to look at as well. I know there's actually a conversation with Deputy Director Rogers today about, the existing one serves the Ace Hardware across the street and how that would impact the Ace Hardware or something that I think we want to look at.
Yeah, I think it's problematic, because people come out of Ace Hardware, cross, go to the island, cross. And we've got a lot of this left and right turn, cross, and then people trying to turn left from that cutting into the front of Village Market, creating I'm gonna get rear-ended, because now my butt's sticking out on the map, because I'm too deep. So that's why I suggested moving it away to loosen up some of the traffic, so people weren't, trying to turn left, go across, go across. Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
Hey, Jacob, can you just answer a couple questions here?
Sure.
So I think this is really necessary. It is, I cannot tell you how many times when I've turned off here and someone from the hardware store is about ready to hit me. I've almost gotten in 3 accidents there, and my husband's been rear-ended over here.
Oh.
So I really do believe there's a safety, unless we're reckless drivers, which we're not, all right? But the other question that I have, so I'm in favor of this. I think, as maybe members in the audience might be too, just a little bit confused. Are we suggesting then what happens here if it's redirected over here? traffic is redirected to go to McKinley this way, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so are any homes affected by that redirection?
not at all. No, it'll just be it'll just be off basically where the alley is. As if it was another piece of, if it was another opening, and it wouldn't affect any homes.
I'm sure there's people that disagree with you in the back there, but is, for my sake, for answering the question, so you're saying that there will be no homes affected by it?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, again, when we looked at it, obviously putting the residents in consideration as well, we want to make sure that no home is affected by it.
All right, well, because I have other questions, but I'm going to move on here because I want to hear from the residents as well. Thank you, sir.
In the interest
In the interest of time, I too yield.
Nope. I'll say.
All right, anything else from council? All right.
It's like Corona.
Thank God you're not an official session. I don't know that. All right, leaves us a few minutes to the public. So here's how we're gonna do it. Before everybody comes rushing to the podium, please allow me to call on you, and then one at a time, come up. State your name and address. We've got 15 minutes, but again, this is the reason I think council members yielded time so you could talk is there will be more hearings. So when you do come up and you're the second or third questioner, if your question has already been asked, you don't need to ask it again. So we can get one out, get as many people up here in 15 minutes before we start our official council meeting. All right, I appreciate it. So hands. All right, your hand first hand up, your second hand up, back, your third, fourth. All right. Remember your numbers. This is a test. Your taxes may go down if you remember your number.
This is an unofficial meeting.
It's an unofficial meeting, exactly.
Frank Garcia at 457 McKinley, I'm about 6 houses down, I'm a regular visitor to the market. When they first presented their layout of the parking lot, I provided a lot of feedback. Doesn't seem to be any of the constructive suggestions were considered. One, I think the ingress and egress of the parking lot should be fixed in order to reduce traffic demand. We already have significant traffic issues, including all the delivery trucks that are in a rush to go to their next delivery. Big semi trucks and box vans and box trucks. So we already do have some traffic concerns on McKinley, especially in that first block where there's now a lot more small children. My suggestions were that ingress from Mac only and egress should be one direction curved out towards Mac from McKinley. I live right there. If I stop by the market, I'm okay going all the way around and go back to my house if I know it's gonna help reduce.
We did talk to them about a right turn only, so we're not at that depth of the plan yet.
No, but it's presented, so my suggestion also, there is a lot of double parking with people just waiting for somebody to run in, pick up something and run out, and it blocks traffic. And it's gonna block traffic at that entrance unless it's one way in. If you allow egress on the Mac from that parking lot, people are gonna stop there and it's gonna cause traffic complications. If you reduce the width of the entrances as they currently are from 2 lanes to 1 lane, you either have additional safety room for vehicles to move safely and pedestrians by not having quite 2 vehicles, but less than 2 vehicles. Or you could add maybe 2 additional parking spots, maybe, because you're simply reducing. I also had the suggestion of reducing the median on Mac for a turn lane, so that people can pull over and do a U-turn to get into the parking structure, which could
I
also.
don't think we meet the minimum width of that.
Yeah, I don't know, I appreciate that.
If you look at ones across Point Wood, the medians are significantly wider. I think there's got to be another car lane with.
Well, I also, I visit Ace all the time, or when I'm just coming from home. When I pull into that median with my F-150, which is not, an 8-foot bed, it's the smaller one. I am at an angle, and I still don't know if I'm hanging out. I'm always paranoid about that, I'm more subconscious than some drivers who don't know the size of their own vehicles. And they hang out. So those are my concerns, at least about the structure. I love the idea of coming to a 90-degree at Mac. I have a crick in my neck. When I'm going at that acute angle, I have a hard time seeing traffic, especially if the car's parked on Mac. I think we need to make sure that there's plenty of sight lines, that the vehicles parking on Mac should be minimized or eliminated in order to allow a safe egress. And that was another point. As far as the restaurant, they said it's not gonna be a bar. Look at their floor plan suggestions. There's a lot of lounge seating, individual seating, there's individual seating at the bar that they actually have. So it's not just gonna be a restaurant, there's gonna be plenty of alcohol being served, and that looks like their intent is to have a lounge area, plenty of lounge areas where individuals can just sit back and enjoy drinks. 4 to 9, that's rush hour, that's key times for people trying to get home, to get their kids from sports. That's gonna increase more traffic, but the alcohol is a concern. That they say it's not a bar, but it certainly looks like a lounge. Most of the tables are not 4 tops, there's a couple 4 tops, but into their drawing and their floor plan. That's a concern. I may address this for others, but not impacting the neighborhood houses. Headlights coming around that corner. Those houses and those on the left-hand side coming in, headlights. Anybody who happens to be drunk, whether or not it's from the restaurant, I'm not saying, but anybody who is impaired, there's a risk that they're gonna go straight right into some of those first 2 or 3 houses. Same with any inappropriate traffic coming down McKinley towards Mac. With that turn, I would think you would want some very strong bollards of some kind to keep vehicles from rushing into the parking lot. And that is a constructive suggestion. I do think that the layout is as far as the parking is beneficial. But we are concerned with parking. During holidays, there's already not enough parking. People are going all the way up and down the street. During their little wine tasting event recently, people were parked all the way down the street. We saw them walking. So 32 spots, they're taking 84 customers upstairs at the restaurant. What about increased employees, the employees of the store downstairs, the guests of the store downstairs, never mind the other businesses nearby? That's really probably not enough parking for rush hour. If they're at max capacity in the restaurant, people are trying to pick up groceries to take home during dinner. I just think that might not be enough. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Spell your last name, please.
Golf, Oscar, Romeo, Sierra, Kilo, and number 2.
Name and address, please.
Yes. Council, thank you.
A little up.
Yes, Rick Bobby, 105 Grosse Pointe Boulevard. Also on behalf of our Pilates, 1826 Mac Avenue, my wife and her partner own business, which just opened. 2 concerns. One is the cut-through radius. I would take that out now. It is just a nightmare passing through. The previous gentleman already stated that. I don't even know if I have a cut-through. It is so bad. The other thing is, I saw that the south end near the warehouse would have a parking lot. Is that open to the public as far as other businesses to use in the proposal? And how many spots does that offer? I think I see. The concern there is there are only about 4 spots in front of 3 or 4 businesses that are currently, they're not metered, but there are only 4 spots. The rest of the parking lot is owned by Village Market at this time. What other parking accommodations can this offer to both the public and to businesses on that south end? Any answers?
We'll consider that as part of the planning as we do this.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Oh, yeah. Can you spell your last name for us?
Yes, Beaubie.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. My name is Maureen Finnegan. It's Finnigan. My address is 444 McKinley. I love the Village Market, Mark, Jacob, they do a great job. However, we have a lot of young children new on McKinley. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to throw this back to you. We had a conversation about putting up a sign about how fast people are going. Never happened. It is awful on this part from Village Market to Shaw. The traffic is outrageous. the amount of cars now. Triple. And the problem is that. Could you put a picture up there? Would you mind? Sorry. Sorry. So that, I mean, my neighbor tried to have a lemonade stand the other day, little kids. It was just crazy. And it is not safe. And there are so many kids being born right now on McKinley area. So I need you guys to really hear that. Okay.
I think one of the hopes is getting rid of that ace cut through
It
and not
needs to
making
go.
it a straight runway where it deals.
Okay, so my concern is this right here. This again has now created a new traffic issue with an in and out there. If that is closed off, then you don't have issues with cars coming in and out here. Because then we've stopped up our traffic to get onto their appropriate road. So when you're coming out here, you can't get out here if someone's trying to get out here and turn right. So I just want to mention that. Is there going to be parking on both sides of this like there is today? I don't know. It doesn't show it. That adds more cars and that's more issues. So we just need to make sure we're looking at this overall. This is beautiful. However, I will address the sidewalk issue. Agreed, sidewalks are a must. We lost our sidewalks here. Maybe we take that all the way out, create a bigger sidewalk. Just some suggestions. I don't know what we're going to do, but the sidewalk from here is great, cutting across here, but then they're also coming across traffic, which is gonna happen, okay? So these are just some suggestions here. I do love the idea of the land swap. However, I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm suggesting a one-way after the alley on McKinley. I'm suggesting that because it is just out of control. So maybe there's a one-way after the alley and just for people to, one of the others mentioned it there, so it doesn't break. So, okay. Sidewalk, entrance, restaurant, trash. Trash. I have a restaurant, you know that. So we're either gonna need more pickups or we're going to need something about the critters. Sometimes the ice gets dropped out the back and sometimes there's some fish in there. We do get critters on McKinley. Everyone's seen them. We just need to pay attention to that can create disease and those guys they can multiply. So we do need to pay attention to that, possibly more pickups. I don't know if we add that restaurant, which I think is a great idea. We just need to make sure we're watching that. One other thing. Still want that one way, sorry, I still want that speed limit for cars, if we can check that.
Yes, Mr. Hutchins for.
Yeah, and then blocking up.
He's urging.
Okay, then blocking up going across from the East Harbor, because then you haven't solved anything, they're just coming straight across, and go so fast. And the last thing is maybe I can just throw this out there to you guys, and I don't know how this all works with city council. Possibly we can have a residents committee who can be a part of this and what you do, and they're hearing what you're hearing, and you're hearing what we're doing. I mean, just together, that we can solve this, and it's a win for everyone. We're not against anyone, we want this to be successful, so thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Nope, she was number 4. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do you want my name and address?
Yes. So
Okay,
you're 5.
Jane CC 478 McKinley. You can imagine, my first question is, well, not the first one, how are the trucks gonna unload now? Same way? Can you bring your little thing back there, make up again? Thank you. Are they gonna come through and turn like that right and knock my bushes out?
Mr. Garmo, you got a response?
Well, the idea is,
Here, this is my driveway, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and they're gonna come in and turn this way?
well, the idea is they'll be coming off of here to come this way through the alley.
The trucks are now, that's how they're.
Yeah,
they're
because
not gonna-
trucks can't make it come in. So this is the way that. they-
Okay, so they're just gonna come, they're gonna come go out that way.
Yeah, they'll probably go through that.
All right, stop it.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Can you do that up there?
Yeah.
So everybody can
And
see what you're
I
talking about.
have a suggestion, the next meeting, if they could bring a big blow up of that.
Yeah, I do have one. Yeah, we can do that.
Because I can't even see the feedback.
I'm sure what's going
This turn isn't adequate for a semi truck.
Going to my house, where my house is.
This beautiful
right
house right
Thank you.
here. Yeah, this isn't adequate for semis to make that turn. So they will be most likely coming off of Mac here, coming down and making a smoother transition out this way.
and down onto McKinley.
Yeah.
Because it's an easy turn.
This is, they won't make that.
Heaven forbid the trucks don't.
can't turn.
Don't laugh.
Hold on, please, everybody. You guys were great for the last 4 minutes.
Normally the trucks that do come out that are not the big trucks, the 53 footers, they do, at the moment, they do come out this way because they can make this turn because there is a, our warehouse parking is here and they can make this turn.
Okay, guys, we get it. We heard you. We know they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we'll follow up with that. And so we got that input.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to deal with the truck issue.
Sure.
So, all
Thank you.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else? No, let's see. Sorry.
And- oh, my second question. Now, where I live, part of my bushes have been ripped out by the trucks turning, and I'm expecting, or I would like the city or the truck to replace them, or maybe you can put a wall up between the sidewalk and my driveway, because my driveway is up that alley. And I had bushes ripped out and they're laying there. They did help me fix the fence, because the fence is leaning over, so he had his, one guy come in and fix that real nice. Anyway, that's that, and then how is this gonna affect my property value?
Hopefully with all the landscaping.
I've been there 35 years, so I really, I'm kind of concerned about that. That's all I got.
Thank you. Sir?
Good evening, my name is Ken Rochelle, I'm over at 14.
Can you spell your last name?
Rochelle, it's MICH. I'm over at 14.
Please, everybody back there, we can hear you.
Again, I want to get over some of the other residents that talked about the truck traffic. Right now, we have 15 to 20 trucks per week that are going through McKinley. That's McKinley Avenue to Shelfine. Some of the trucks go all the way to the farmer's market. And then some of the other trucks go left, pass up Brown now, take Mirage, go all the way to Cook Road and turn right to the Rivers complex for deliveries as well. But in the last year and a half, it's been roughly 15 to 20 trucks per year. That includes a big commercial garbage truck that goes through roughly 3 times a week. And sometimes that's Saturday at 6:30 in the morning. So if we can try to work with the truck issue going through McKinley, I think is perfect. Have them come off of Mack Avenue, make a delivery, and go right back onto Mack Avenue to their next delivery, rather than going down residential street. And then the second item real quick is the restaurant, which probably would have more traffic down McKinley from 4 to 9 as well. So that concerns me as well, because right now we have quite a bit of car traffic. So those are the 2 items.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so we're gonna have to start our regular meeting, so here's what we're gonna do. We'll take all your input, we'll get back to the village market and try to address some of the things we talked about today. If you have comments that you still want to submit, or even if you think of something tomorrow or the next week, you can email them to our city clerk, whose email address is on our website. So if some of you have not had a chance to speak and want to give us some additional comments or enhance your comments, please feel free to go to our website, email our city clerk, who will then put them in the hopper for what we're talking about. Same type of notice you received today for this meeting, you will receive for any future meetings. And that notice will tell you whether it's another work session like this, or whether it's something more formal, where we will be voting on something. So I appreciate everybody coming and taking an hour out of their evening to come give us your concerns. The input is always helpful to us in making determinations down the road, particularly for residents who are so close to businesses and businesses the size of the. So I think I can speak on the whole council, on behalf of the whole council, and say thank you for your time, for your input. We look forward to more of the input, and as I said, we'll be receiving notice as we move forward. Eric?
I'd just like the audience to know, the audio is now working, but we have a backup, so we'll post the full video and audio tomorrow on our city website.
All right, fantastic.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, if anyone was here for the discussion tonight, you did not get a chance to speak, I'm still leave, you could write your name and address, please. I'm gonna leave a pen over there. I'd like to know everybody was here from the neighborhood.
All right, with that, we'll take about 2 minutes to let the room clear before we start our city council meeting. Thank you again, everybody. Whatever the same.
Yeah, it was just they had.
That has the electronic in the back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I pulled up.
You know, if they unload on that, you're gonna drive a forklift down the sidewalk. Back. Oh, necessarily, have to say that. That's the plan. Yeah. Trucks, they're gonna drive forklifts all the way down the sidewalk. You know, it's funny, John, my stepson lives on 400. This is the first I reached there, it's always early. They've been living there for a while.
They were just.
They've always been there.
Maybe another event here.
Seriously. They act like they're running a show sometimes. And I like both of them.
I like the nice.
Taking liberties.
Look what we did last week. Guy running the accessory special. The Fords, the freaking Mr. Alger. Right, Mr. Alger.
That was,
They refused to sponsor.
we just kind of. He can play. You know what they Right. Plug into their system. Yeah. Right here. So our engineers have to be able to go in here, hook up, right? So there's cars. Here's the height. Right. But no, you can't make this a one. You can't cut that in half. One in and one out. That's not. I don't think a parking lot this size can only have one in and one out.
Oh, really?
This way. Right, quickly, you gotta start. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm calling to order tonight's city council meeting. Those of you who are mingling, just make sure you sign where you're signing and do it quietly. Please stand, recite the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City roll call.
Councilmember Wood.
Yeah, here.
Mayor Pro Tem Conrad. Here. Councilmember Ritchie.
Present.
Mayor Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Donovan.
Here.
Councilmember Schultz. Here. Councilmember Blue. He's here.
Are you here?
I'm here.
I guess I had to do it, so I stand up. All right, item 3, reading consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting and closed session held on May 20, 2024. Are there any comments or changes to those minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as submitted. Item number 4, presentation by MedStar regarding ambulance services.
I actually received a call later today from Kobe Miller, the CEO of MedStar, and unfortunately he had a death of a family friend, so he has to reschedule.
I don't think we'll take any action. This will be on next month. Quick, item 5, consideration of a request to approve senior services village ballot language for the November 5, 2024 election. So, yeah, you came really fast. I didn't really get it, sorry.
Okay. I'll just kind of key it off.
Yeah, well, I want to tee off the city clerk and the city manager office. Thank you. Shane.
Yeah, this is really what you're seeing today is a combination of many meetings over the last many months since the House was before this body and requested consideration of the levy of a senior bill that would go towards funding towards the House for senior services. And from that meeting, each of the communities of the Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods communities have had a representative, 10 meetings with representatives from the House to look at their needs, to go frankly pretty in depth in looking at their budget and coming up with a proposed ballot language. Originally, I think if you recall, the House had requested a millage of 0.5 mils. And that has since been modified to a request for a millage levy of 0.35 mils. And from that meeting, the city managers from the respective communities met and did two things. One, they helped finalize a ballot language with the help of the city attorney from the Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods, as well as the development of an intergovernmental agreement. And really, the intergovernmental agreement is the mechanism on how funds would be allocated once received. So assuming the City Council approves a ballot language to place it on the ballot, and the request is have placement on the November ballot of this year. If that gets approved, then the interlocal agreement would serve as a mechanism how those funds would be then transferred over to the Helm. And really, they would, in a sense, for the group created, which would be a senior commission, again, made up of representatives from the participating communities that are appointed by city council. They would then contract with a senior service provider, in this case, the Helm. They would also oversee the activities of the Helm, the budget, and they would be, really, the Helm would be reporting to this commission under the framework that has been set up. So the copy of that, or the draft of that interlocal agreement has been distributed with the ballot language. Frankly, I don't think that has to be addressed this evening. I think that other cities are still reviewing that agreement, as well as city attorneys. That will allow us more time for our council to review it as well. But it's, I think, a good initial framework if the council decides to move forward with the placement of the ballot language on the November election. So enclosed in your packet is proposed ballot language, but prior to that discussion, I know we have
City attorney, walk us through this whole process, sort of give us like seriatim, what are the steps that have to go to get us to the
And I have actually two supplements to the actual language that when we get to that point. If you could call me again, then we'll cover that. But once city council approves the concept of placing this millage on the ballot and approves the language that you have in your packet, and the other Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods communities are going to be doing this along a similar time frame. The language has to be submitted to the state to be approved. And we'll get a communication back either from the Attorney General's office or the State Election Commission, either approving what we've submitted or requiring certain tweaks. And then once we have that, Derek would be authorized to go ahead and have the actual language approved for the November ballot. We have to have some coordination here, obviously, among the 6 communities involved, and that's going to be one of the language issues that I want to raise when we get to that.
So we could vote on it today and give authorization to tweak it based on what the other cities do.
Correct. We probably have the luxury of final approval at our July meeting. That would still, I think, allow enough time. Shane, I think I'm right about that, to get it in front of the state.
Right.
But let me, since I've got the floor, I wanted to cover the 2 points. Number one, after the packet was put together, there has been dialogue among city managers with respect to a threshold of the number of communities approving the measure by the voters to actually have the millage be levied and collected. And I think that the consensus of the communities at this point is that the ballot would recite that at least four of the 6 communities would have to approve the measure at the November election in order to have the actual levy occur. 3 or 2 or only 1 community approved it, then it would fall apart of its own weight. The second issue is that because we are dealing with the requirement of state approval and we're dealing with the coordination, the necessary coordination among 6 communities, assuming the city council approves the ballot language this evening, my recommendation is that the resolution authorize the city manager and the city attorney to approve of minor language changes to the extent required to conform to the state of Michigan directive or to make sure that the ballot language across all 6 communities is consistent. Now, that may be putting the cart before the horse until you get to the approval, but that will be my recommendation when we get there.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Burgess?
Okay, with that, I think Derek, you have the bell language available on PowerPoint too. When we get to that point, we can actually kind of go over the revised language that has been reviewed by the various cities. With that, I know the Helm is interested in kind of giving their plug for this endeavor. We heard from Prudence Cole last time, who is now in another city, I think, doing the same thing today. But Dr. Cheryl Wesson is here today, who's our current president of the Helm, and she'd like to make some comments.
Thank you very much for the council for allowing me to speak. We're really excited about the opportunity to help our senior citizens and appreciate your consideration. I'm Cheryl Wesson, and we've presented previously the need for support of our seniors in this community. I'm asking you to give the citizens of Grosse Pointe Farms the opportunity to decide for themselves if they want to ensure the well-being of our seniors through a state authorized millage. While I would hope for your individual support, the ballot will be asking for the citizens of Grosse Pointe Farms to support and to consider supporting our senior citizens. So in previous presentations, we've shown the demographics of the community and the growing number of citizens who are 65 and over. At this time, about 22% of our population is over 65, and that number and percentage will only grow. It's estimated in 2030 that the number of seniors over age 60 will exceed the number of 17 and younger children in our community. So this is going to be an increasingly important part of our population as we all, with luck, will continue to age and be healthy and hopefully have healthy longevity. The Helm is spearheading this initiative since we are really the only comprehensive and primary provider of senior services in the Grosse Pointes. We're dedicated to inspiring and enabling our residents to enjoy that gift of longevity, living healthy and meaningful lives as they age. We also have shared what the proposed millage would fund. And while even bingo provides some socialization opportunities, millage dollars will be used to fund the expansion of essential health and wellness services, as well as much needed new services such as adult daycare, off-site programming, home visitations, and expanded evidence-based programs. The millage will also shore up the PATS transportation program. The Helm's been in existence for 45 years and has been funded mainly by philanthropic support. This is really a non-sustainable model for increasing programs and wanting to have more services. And I can assure you that we will continue in our extensive fundraising and not rely on taxpayer money in order to fund our services. It's just to be able to expand the services that we are providing and to be sure that we will be able to continue those services in the future as our population of older citizens grows. I gratefully acknowledge the support of the city managers, Shane, who've worked with us extensively to understand our needs and to help us revise and lower the proposed millage to 0.35, generating really a minimum amount that will allow us to continue the present services and expand into new programs. The city managers have drafted an interlocal agreement that has been termed the commission to allow us to work together amongst the Grosse Pointes and Harper Woods and to draft the universal ballot language. So we're very, very grateful for the hard work the city managers have put in. The handout in your packet and on the screen is showing you the impact for our citizens of what our demographics will provide. And you can see on the first graph, before that, if you provide. Yes. So you can see that the vast majority of households in the Grosse Pointe Farms will have an added tax burden of between $36 and $72 a year. The average increase in property tax is estimated to be $82 a year for a tax revenue from the farms of almost $350,000. And to the right on this graph, it shows you that 44% of the citizens of Grosse Pointe Farm are 50 and older. 44%. That number is going to just grow with what we will be all getting older. And the next graph is showing the services that are provided currently to farms residents. So you can see there have been almost 7,000 visits a year. There are 200 plus programs that are provided monthly. A total of 450 residents are served, and 181 members of the farm's residents are members. And on the right-hand side is showing examples of the services provided, and the number of residents that have been impacted. You can see it includes PATS rides, Meals on Wheels, medical escort rides, and equipment lending. You also have a copy of the ballot language, so I ask you please to vote yes, put this on the ballot in November so that we can allow citizens to speak and to say whether or not they want to support seniors in our community. I think you've been told previously in Michigan, 72 out of 83 counties have a senior millage. And that doesn't include some municipalities which are carved out separately. For instance, Binghamton has just passed a senior millage. Rochester Hills has a senior millage. So there are several municipalities in addition to counties that have senior villages. And I think that the Grosse Pointes deserve also to have this provided for our citizens. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? What?
Sure, thank you very much for coming, appreciate it. Just a couple of budget questions. If you could tell me what is the home's current operating budget?
$1.3 million.
Pardon me?
1.3.
1.3 million?
Yes.
And the slide indicates that from us, if we were to pass this 0.35 mil tax, our contribution would be roughly 350,000. What is the anticipated amount that would be raised from all 6 cities if everybody worked to?
We're estimating that it's about 1.1 million.
1 point. So you're gonna double, you're gonna basically with this proposal, you're doubling your operating budget?
Part of what we are recommending that would be used for is adult daycare, which will take close to $500,000 to be up and running. That'll provide services for citizens who can't be left alone at home, to allow their caregivers to have some time to have a safe place for them to be provided, similar to daycare for young children. Nothing like that is in the points at this time. If someone needs that, they have to purchase those services individually for care in their home. We would like to expand services to include evening hours and perhaps some weekend hours so that we can reach a wider group of individuals. We know that older citizens today are working longer, and so daytime programming doesn't always meet the needs of people that are still active and working during the day until they're in their 70s and sometimes even 80s. So we would like to expand the hours of operation that we can be provided. We know that the wages and benefit packages always increase. We are really just able to generate philanthropically the expenses that we have for pretty much a bare bones operation to do all the things we do with minimal, there's really no slush in the system.
Thank you.
Doctor, thank you for coming. I appreciate your overview. Excuse me. You have an operating budget of 1.3 million right now. One of the things that I'm intrigued with in this knowledge is that I understand the growing population and the projected needs. However, I'm not quite sure how your budget is divvied up right now. Of that operating budget, so help me understand that. 1.3 million, how much of that 1.3 million is from grants, state grants, federal grants, any type of grants?
I don't know the exact percentage. We do have grants. Most of the grants are not for operations. The grants that are available are for new programs. And so we have about something less than $100,000 a year that are in grant monies. We actively pursue any grants that seem suitable for our services.
Okay, and Doctor, what is, so $100,000 is part of that 1.3 million. How much are contributions, individual contributions to philanthropy?
About 60%.
60%. I understand that this is a real need, and I understand, the leadership, but there's a lot of leap of faith going on here. First of all, the organization, newly created organization, the commission that will be responsible, and of course, I know you're cognizant to such abuses as far as with Conservancy and other different nonprofit organizations, as far as how there really needs to be now even more extra mindful oversight and a real good financial acumen as far as people that are operating this budget. I'm going to approve this ballot myself, this ballot language. I do think it would be good, the help, if we could understand a little bit more on a budgetary standpoint, maybe with some other further pie charts, where you're going to double your budget, how that's going to be divvied up and how that's going to be done in incremental stages. And also, what are going to be the continuing fundraising goals, hopefully not less, status quo or more increase to even infuse that amount.
Our plan is absolutely to continue the fundraising that we have been doing and to continue to do the very best we can. Fundraise, the group of donors in the Grosse Pointes is really tapped out by a lot of different people, and there's, but we continue to do it as best we can. And I think that Shane would agree that he and his group of city managers saw in great detail the budget information from the Helm as part of their due diligence in looking in the interlocal agreement.
I appreciate it. I think that we need to share that.
Yeah, we could definitely share that.
But I thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, those details have been shared. I think to your satisfaction, Shane, is that? Those details about the budget.
Yeah, actually, they have the details included a kind of a multi-year budget where they looked at what the current budget is. Roughly now 75% of the funding comes from donations and fundraising. The rest comes from city and county grants, from which the Grosse Pointes contribute our community development block grant dollars for, and they do get some funding from DAAA. So those are really the primary sources of funding, in addition to fees for programs.
And again, all I want to say, Shane, is that in light of some other different organizations that have been really under intense scrutiny.
Yes.
I think as city council people, we need to see that information.
See where the expenses are going for.
So that we can again see what's going to do.
And we have a lot of redundancy, being very cognizant of the problems that other organizations have had with a very reliable audit firm that does a complete audit every single year. And there are multiple signatures required for any expenditures of any substance. So we try very hard to be good stewards of the money that we have.
Doctor, thanks for coming in. I just want to make one comment. I think the Helm does an excellent job on really a shoestring. And anything we can do to help, I'm for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted to say that too. I heard you loud and clear when you said the way you're operating, all the services that you're providing on a shoestring budget. I myself have been caregiving basically my whole life, so I understand and I appreciate what you all are doing. Thank you.
I'm inclined to support this particular ballot initiative, if only to give voters a chance to hear it. My one concern is that the kind of timeline of when we put these on the ballots and frankly, the communications campaign that's necessary to the community about whether or not there'll be sufficient time to generate an understanding of the program and what it takes to get it across the thing. I'll also say, while I am inclined to support this, I also know that we leave, when it comes to the issue of childcare and care for infants in particular in this community, we leave that to the private market all the time. It's literally parents in this community are struggling to find infant care and going up, dozens of miles in some cases up the road in order to get that support. And it's unfortunate that there isn't a similar mechanism to ensure that those kids and those families have access to that care using public services in some capacity. One question I had was when you talked about the, speaking of care, the adult daycare, is that going to be additional fee for service, or I imagine there's substantial outlays for just setting up the program? There would be additional fees in order to utilize that, correct?
There would. We anticipate there would be some scholarships available according to need, but there would be a charge for utilizing those services.
Yes, and obviously it's very neat. I've seen the need in my own family for it, so it's incredibly important that we have this. But I think we have to remember that so many people in our community need care, from our older citizens to our youngest citizens, and we have to be willing to provide that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Doctor, thank you very much for being here. As the son of a Grosse Pointe Farms resident who makes weekly use of the facilities several times a week, I think it's great. And I would tend to encourage my fellow city council members to approve the ballot language at the very least, to give our voters a chance to see what's coming. In terms of your description, I agree with Councilmember Soroka. I think you have a good task ahead of you to get the word out to all the communities, quite frankly, in a limited schedule. But I am definitely in favor of letting the voters decide with thanks.
So Doctor, I too am inclined to allow this to go to the citizens to let them decide. I do though raise the same concerns as is that I had a discussion with Doug Blatt over the weekend. I expressed this to him. I see in this room, you have some very supportive people of the Helm in the audience today, well known in the community. But as I expressed to Doug, that you guys are killing it in fundraising right now, I do have a concern in this fashion. We are paying a DIA millage, we're paying a zoo millage. All of a sudden, the residents, if you vote for this millage, you get to go to the DIA for free. Except when it's Van Gogh. Except when it's this. Except when it's this. And so all of a sudden, despite the fact that we are the citizens bought that and voted in favor of it, the rules changed down the road. Not because the people at the time who were pushing it or represented the DIA or the zoo had any intention of doing that. It's those that succeeded them who don't care what their predecessors said. So I am thoroughly concerned about A, the fundraising continuing at the great level that you've been able to achieve with such tremendous support, which is very important and helpful people in our communities, which is fantastic. So that is a concern of mine, and I hope there is some 20-year plan on this and some assurance from the helm that this will not turn into everything's banged up. Yes, you're from Grosse Pointe Farms, you're in our adult daycare, because your city passed the millage, your tuition is $100 a week. But for Grosse Pointe Shores who didn't, it's 110. No, it should be costed out, and I hope you acknowledge here today in front of us, so we have this on record, to the extent that community does not pass, and their citizens do use the Helms facilities, you will charge them the appropriate increased amount for using those items that residents of the communities that did pass the village are subsidizing, and not just giving, oh shucks, everybody gets a scholarship in the Shores if they vote it down. I'm not saying the Shores can vote it down, just using an example. But that they will be charged accordingly, because our citizens should get the benefit of paying the millage and not subsidize those who do not.
We fully agree with that, and that is the plan. And I think we have some additional safeguards, because the interlocal agreement is comprised of people that are appointed by this council and the other city councils. And they have oversight of what's happening. And so different without that oversight. And so I think that those decisions will be supported by elected council members or their appointees to be the oversight for what we propose to do.
My concern is this went on for 6 years now, it's still gonna be collected, even if there's a dispute over what's happening. So just, listen, we trust you, it's a service that's needed, but, I'm not, everybody here's not gonna be in council 20 years from now.
Yes.
And so things change. And anyway, so I just want to make sure that I talk about that as before. And you are okay with language saying that at least 4 of the 6 communities that pass it,
We really need to have 4 of the 6 pass it in order for it to be a viable solution. Otherwise, the amount of work involved is probably not well spent. So yes, we do.
All right, anybody from the public want to ask any questions or make any comments on this proposal? Andy.
Hey, Justice Fisher, could you share that information, share on the actual, what you have here? The presentation, I think, was very fast, very detailed, so is that available at all?
Yeah, and yes, and I think it will be, frankly, it's gonna be incumbent on the Helm to, just to sell the case for village, and I expect that you'll see quite a bit in the future.
Yes.
David Bally, 44 Fair Acres. I just want to say that I stand in support of the Helm, and everything that Dr. Beeson said, what Shane is involved with. Having been somewhat involved with it myself, I see everything that Dr. Beeson says. I think it's such a growing need. My own population. I see so many people who come every day who have family issues, older people, fire. Helm is always a great resource. I think allowing voters of the city to decide is the best option. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Catherine Sauerbeer, 234 Plaza. The question was asked, how much money this will generate among 6 cities. Mr. Rowley was very helpful, and when I asked the question a few days ago, and that exact amount for 2025, based on an increase of taxable value of the homes by 3%, is calculated to be $1,364,470. Now, I went on the Helms website and wanted to get some budgetary information. Unfortunately, the most recent 990 form, the IRS form that is required of nonprofits, The only current one was for 2021, which is a concern to me immediately. That amount indicated that revenues were $1,313,487. So essentially, Councilman Wood in the comment that doubling is pretty much the number. In looking at staffing, it appears in the 990 that approximately half of that amount in revenue, again, back to 2021, is utilized for salaries. And I guess I have a question, and others might ask if this indeed goes on the ballot, because nonprofits normally don't have an approximate 50% of their revenue going to salaries. I've spoken to several people, and this model of governance is essentially how the library is run. And there have been issues with that governance model. Basically, if we drill down, this is taxation without representation. Because while I trust you guys to appoint someone from the farms, I don't know even who the city council members are on the other cities. And they are appointing people that I would never know either. When we vote for people, there is information given out as to their background, their qualifications, etc. Now, maybe that will come forward if this progresses, but again, I don't have the ability to vote for any of those people from any of the cities. And my other issue is, this is a 501c3, which means that they have bylaws and that they are governed by those bylaws. The IRS, that's a done deal. So if we appoint people and they have oversight or whatever, what kind of power do they actually have? Power might not be the right word, but authority to question anything when the bylaws are already there in stone. This is essentially a guaranteed revenue stream. And I object to that because you all know Grosse Pointe Public School System seeks to triple the sinking fund from 1 to 3 mills and changing, revoting every 5 years to every 10 years. And this is in the face of how we're told constantly declining enrollment. We're using less water and we get rewarded with higher prices. The other issue is very nice brochure on the classes. I would say 50%, there's an extra charge for, even if you're a member. 50% if you're a member, you don't have to charge. And I believe the charge is $48 a year for a month. Our taxes would be, I would be paying, my husband and I, much more than $48 a piece in taxes. There also are other places where many of these classes are held. Pier Park has classes, our own city, the War Memorial, the Neighborhood Club. Many of these are duplicative. And if the goal is to get into more healthcare and wellness, then you have the issue of competitiveness, because the farms and all of the Grosse Pointes along the Harbor Woods have private physical therapists, other physicians, other healthcare workers who are already in business and they're competing. Once you give people a guaranteed revenue stream, there's no competition. It's there, the money's doubled, and there it is. I think the last thing I want to say is The job of city government is to keep citizens safe in a fiscally responsible way. Let's just focus on that.
Dr. Rowland?
I wasn't originally going to talk, but I'm Donna Hoagland, I live at 81 Andy Road. I have been in practice here in the Redwood area for 35 years, and my practice is primarily geriatric. And I can tell you that over 35 years, I have been shocked at how we live in a wealthy community, and many of our elderly people are marginalized. And they are too prideful to let anyone know. There are sometimes their children don't know. They really need these services. And that's one point, they really truly need more services, not just classes. We need more opportunities. I don't think a physician, my practice, as I said, is primary. We will not consider it. We would not consider competition at all. We would consider it additive, because one of the things I struggle with the most, and that I feel probably that just gets to my heart, are the spouses of people who have dementia. We're living a lot longer, there's no question. We are living a lot longer. We've done a great job of keeping people alive. People have good cholesterol, they don't die of heart disease. Unfortunately, we have not done a good job with their brains. And the amount of dementia out there is just on the rise, and there's just not a good place where people feel safe putting their spouse where they'll get safe healthcare for an affordable price. And that's really one of the reasons I'm here tonight, is because I hope that this village will help us do that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Right, seeing no more hands, public comment is closed. What is the pleasure of council?
Go ahead. I think that Catherine Tower makes an excellent point about taxable values. And Shane, I guess I'd like to ask you, because you are as taxable values increase in all of our cities, the Helm is likely to, in every year, going to be getting more and more 1.1 million. Values go up 2% up to 5%. You're going to be a constant and more money. Did the group app of any sort that would prevent that kind of windfall, basically, based on just simply the increase in taxable values?
So like a village collected for municipality or any other government entity, under Michigan state law, the taxable value will go up with the CPI, with the inflationary rate, not to exceed 5%. So as we've had, for prior budgets, we've had years where we most recently were exceeded 5%, but the maximum that we could increase it was 5%. That would also apply for this millage that would go to the senior commission. And conversely, if you saw a decrease in property values and associated with the decrease in taxable values that we did in 2008, starting in 2008, you would see a corresponding reduction in that number.
So you're supposed to deal with it. And so I was just going to say earlier in the comments, a lot of the discussion today has been about the merits of the millage, not the merits of putting it to the voters. And sometimes we get lost, but today we're just discussing the merits of putting this on the ballot. And this will rise or fall on many of the arguments or discussions that we've heard today. So I just want us to focus on, do we want to put this on the ballot to let the citizens decide? Because that is the question that we are to decide today. Yes, we can charge our representative on the commission to do all the things that we're discussing, to watch fees that are being charged, etc. I at one point last thought about should it be approved up to 0.35 in the event that housing does go up so high, just only level 0.2 that year because you don't need it because you did it. suggestion did not make today, but is, but because it can, 2008, there are people saying there's a bubble out there, and maybe we might get stuff like that. So, I want to call the question here. Does anybody want to make a motion one way or the other?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the language contained within our packets and is discussed by City Attorney Burgess with regard to the senior services millage ballot language for the November 5, 2024 election, with the understanding that the city attorney and city manager, upon their mutual agreement, may make minor changes to that language based upon their discussions with other community leaders going forward.
Does that cover it, Mr. Burgess?
It does.
All right, does anybody support?
Support.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Lucen. Good luck. Oh, we know another millage. Consideration of request to approve road millage ballot language for the November 5, 2024 election. Mr. Reside.
Okay, so these are not additional dollars, these are a continuation of an existing millage. As council is aware that we are currently in our 4th year of our accelerated road repaving program, 5th year of receiving revenues for that program. So this will be our winter taxes will be the last year of receiving those revenues. Based upon need, we think it is necessary that a few mil dedicated for road improvements be continued. And so we're recommending language is close to your packet for a continuation of a 2 mil assessment for a period of 5 years, beginning with the December 25 levy.
Any questions from council?
Sure, Shane, this is to be focusing mainly on local roads. Did we do any local roads in our last 4 years, or were they all major roads? And could you explain for the audience and us, what's the difference between the major roads and local roads?
Yeah, it's really an Act 51 designation. How it has to do with the volume that a road carries. It's more of your artery roads that are your major roads. So yes, that has been our focus with the repaving and rebuilding of Kirby Road from Mac to Kercheval. Last year we paved the length of Kercheval from Ross to Fisher. We finished with Ridge Road between Kirby and Fisher was repaved from Mac Avenue to Kercheval. So those were, again, major roads, major expenses because they tend to be a little bit more costly in resurfacing than your local roads. We plan to continue with doing some additional major work this year with Chalfont, section of Chalfont. And but with that said, we've also done some local roads just because the need was there. It was significant enough where we felt we can hold off. In the case of Muir Road, which is scheduled this year, we're proposing that it be repaved in a section within the road rehab map between Kercheval and McKinley because of intention of replacing the water main at that location. Going forward, I think now that we are, other with the exception of Grosse Pointe Boulevard, it's going to be obviously a larger expense, a larger road, and we still have the remainder of Kercheval. But beyond that, most of these funds will be going now towards your interior local roads.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody in the public have any questions? Andrew?
And 306 Fisher. The city has traditionally contributed out of its regular budget, $500,000, $17,000 to the road work. Is that going to continue this new notice consistently, or are you going to be backing off from that?
Yeah, we intend to continue to do that. In fact, during the course of this millage, we've actually added some additional dollars and to be able to get some of these projects done.
Okay, that's concerning that you're taking, well, we'll kind of use this money rather than just for out of the regular budget to do this. Okay, thanks.
It wouldn't be cricket for me to ask the help about where their money goes with us, pulling the switcheroo here. This is, we're not gonna do 3-card Monte here, so.
Okay.
Any other questions from the public? Seeing none, what's the pleasure of council?
Make a motion. Love. I move that the following road millage renewal language be placed on the November 5th, 2024 ballot. Okay, it's a question. Shall the city of Grosse Pointe Farms be authorized to continue imposing a property tax levy in an amount not to exceed the annual rate of 2 mills for a renewed period of 5 years, beginning with the December 2025 levy and extending through the December 2029 levy for the purpose of reconstructing, resurfacing, repairing, and otherwise improving major and local roads, as well as alleys, parking lots, non-motorized pathways, and related infrastructure within the city.
Good. Right? Is that right?
That's all you need.
Okay. All right. Do I support?
Support.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Item 7, consideration of a request to approve year-end budget amendments. Mr. Rowland.
These are our year-end budget adjustments based on the actual projected expenditures and revenues for the 6/30/2024 fiscal year. We're projecting to get a budget adjustment of 194,820 in revenue, increased revenue. That's made up of a reduction of 39,400 in property taxes. That's due to Michigan tax tribunal cases as well as additional veterans exemptions. An increase in licenses and permits of 90,470 due to strong building permit activity. $48,090 adjustment in state and federal grants due to grants for police academy and bulletproof vests that we received. And an increase in interest revenue of $95,660 due to the higher interest rates currently on our investments. On the expenditures, it's also a 194,820 adjustment in expenditures. That's made up of the municipal court decrease of 41,700 due to decreased insurance costs, as well as the state no longer charging for the court software system. A decrease of 21,300 in general government. An increase of 42,920 in public safety. That's primarily due to retirement payouts as well as increased overtime due to the staffing shortages. The big increases in public works of 284,600. That's primarily due to the big storm last July with all the tree removals and cleanup from that storm. It was roughly $400,000. That's offset by reduced public works costs. Department. At Pier Park, we have a reduction of 39,700. That's primarily due to less maintenance costs for repairs to concrete stuff at Pier Park compared to last year. And then a reallocation of the contingency of $30,000. So the net effect is no change in the budgeted fund balance. We're still budgeting for a $200,000 fund balance use. But we're expecting actually to be close to break even for the year. Just have to make sure we leave enough cushion so we don't exceed budget in any category. The other fund that needs an adjustment is major road fund. This is just to account for any expenditures for this year's road program that occur prior to year end. So it's just a timing issue of any construction that occurs before the end of the year. So we're putting $300,000 of expenditures offset by increased Act 51 funds of 16,750 and increased interest income of 35,000. Any questions?
Questions for Tim? Anybody in the public have any questions? All right, comments closed. Mr. Wood, take a quick motion.
Sorry, just as chairman.
I'm on it, Louis.
All right, thank you, sir.
My motion is that the city council approve the proposed budget amendments detailed in the memo from Tim Rowland dated June 10th, 2024, which reflects the current expenditures, which reflects the current expectations of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024.
Support? Support. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Reports, you have the 2024 public safety report, and my eyes deceiving me. Our citizens did not report we did not have a vehicle session, man. People learn to lock their doors after all these months and months.
We may still get one. We sometimes it's reported belatedly.
No, close out the month is gone. Yes. Oh, it's 10th, right? I'll close. Tim, when you close the month.
Up 10.
All right, good. Cannot report any thefts after today. Jane, other business.
I have no business.
And then council, other business.
Oh,
geez, Sarah, go for it. Please.
okay, just to have a wonderful announcement. And I hope everyone will, as many of you can participate. So for the first time, we're doing a joint Juneteenth celebration event workshop at Wayne County Community College, and it's led by Mayor Valerie Kendall of Harper Woods, joined by Grosse Pointes. And it's Wednesday, June 18th Wednesday, June 19th from 1 to 4 p.m.
Thank you. Looks like good. Joe.
I just want to make a mention that I'm seeing a lot of sawhorses out there replacing sidewalks. Now, I haven't seen it before, I know 200 a year, but I thank you, that we need a lot more.
We do. We're as fast as we can get the contractor out there to do more, we're getting them out there and there's a lot to do.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Anybody else? I have a request, doesn't have to be answered today, if you get back to Shane, I'd like to see if we can move the August meeting from the 12th, to Monday the 12th, to Tuesday the 13th. I think, hopefully that's not a problem. This one might be a little bit more. Move the September meeting up from the 16th to the 9th.
When's Labor Day?
The week before, so it's not, it's the second, so it's the Monday after Labor Day.
Instead of 2 Mondays after.
Right, because the reason there's 2 Mondays is since it's Labor Day, it's right, it's the second Monday for the meeting, moved it to the third, because of Labor Day, right? So absent any objection to Shane by like tomorrow.
People are kind of looking at the calendars.
Well, if they can do that, we can knock it out today, that's great. Yeah.
So August meeting,
From Monday to Tuesday, from the 12th to the 13th. That's possible,
and what about September?
from the 16th back to the 9th.
I will not be able to come to the August meeting, but I'll let my absence.
I will not be able to attend the September 9th date. That's one person.
All right, thank you.
So we have August is.
August 13th, well, it's August 12th to the 13th, and September from the 16th. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I forgot to mention, we continue to make progress. We have a pool committee meeting this Wednesday night. For those who are here in the audience or listening, we had a great initial meeting 6 weeks or so ago. I believe everyone on the 24 member committee was in attendance. It was great. Councilmember Conrad Wilberding, Councilmember Soroka are on the committee. It was great. We look forward to another meeting this week. Great progress is being made. The park looks better than ever. We hope to see everyone down there. Thank you.
And I have one more, I want to thank the Public Safety Department for presenting council with the challenge coins. while our director was away. So thank you very much for that. We support you wholeheartedly.
We're happy to have them.
Anybody in the public?
Sorry.
Catherine Sauer, 234 Vanessa. Quick question, maybe for Mr. Preside, what's going on with GFL priority? Will it affect us? If so, how? Money wise?
So currently we have a contract with GFL for recycling services. It's a joint contract with Grosse Pointe Farms, Grosse Pointe City, Grosse Pointe Park, and Grosse Pointe Shores. With contracts separately because they also do the refuse collection. We have been informed, kind of right now it's been by a phone call. No, we have not received the official notification, but we have been told that GFL is in the process of selling their residential routes within, I believe, the Tri-County area to priority waste. Thank you. So, so we are waiting for, we've actually been contacted by Priority Waste. They want to set up a meeting in the near future as they finalize things with GFL. That both GFL and Priority have at least given me verbal assurance that there will not be an interruption in service. The same equipment will be used, at least temporarily. They're purchasing equipment from GFL and anticipate that it will be the same crews that are currently on the roads.
More importantly, same price.
Same pricing, yes, the same pricing
Price
as
stays the same.
as under the current contract, I'm sorry, yes, yes. yes.
Anybody else in the public? All right, see you.